microphone on? Good evening and welcome to the September 19th meeting of the City of Vista Planning Commission. I'd like to welcome the Rancho students back. We missed you during the summer. And we have some Boy Scouts with us this evening. So anyway, Commissioner Jackal, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Please join me. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Turley, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Carroll.
Here.
Commissioner Kramer.
Here.
Commissioner Bell.
Here.
Commissioner Garrettson.
Here.
Commissioner Jekyll.
Here.
Chairman Rosler.
Here.
Vice Chairman Looney. Student Commissioner Jonah Cranford.
Here.
And Student Commissioner Manuel Martinez. Thank you. All present.
All right. Commissioners, before you are the minutes from the August 1st meeting, our discussion on the CEQA. Are there any changes? If not, can I hear a motion to approve? Commissioner Carroll?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Commissioner Kramer?
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the August 1st meeting. Please cast your vote. And the minutes pass unanimously. So the first item on our, the next item on our agenda are agenda changes. John, any changes to the agenda this evening?
No changes this evening, Chairman.
All right, thank you. The next item is oral communications. Oral communications is an opportunity for you to address the Commission on any items that are not on the agenda. I have no speaker slips. Is there anyone that would like to address the Commission on a particular issue that's not on our agenda tonight? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to our public hearing items. Public hearing items are run in a particular manner. The staff will make a presentation. The applicant will come and make a presentation, add some additional information. The commission will ask questions of staff and the applicant, and then we'll open it up to the public to address issues and concerns. And we focus on the particular item itself. The first public hearing item we have is P17-0226, the Raising Cane Restaurant. Mr. Riesler, are we ready to go?
Yes, Chairman Rosler and members of the Planning Commission. This item before you tonight is a specific plan amendment, a special use permit, as well as a site development plan for Raising Cane's restaurant. The application number is P17-0226. The site address is 303 Vista Village Drive. The site is located on the northeast corner of Vista Village Drive and West Vista Way. The site is approximately 1.37 acres. It's one legal lot, and the site is currently developed with a vacant 6,800 square foot restaurant building that was formerly occupied by Famous Dave's Barbecue. Before you on this slide is two photographs of the site as well as a site aerial. The top photograph was taken from the setback along Vista Village Drive. The lower photograph was taken from West Vista Way. Staff does note that the site does maintain a remote parking lot area that is directly north of the main site. Surrounding land uses includes Rosati's Restaurant to the north, Creek Walk Park to the east, Chili's Restaurant to the south, as well as automobile storage to the west across Vista Village Drive. The general plan land use designation for the site is mixed use, which allows for commercial uses as well as eating and drinking establishments. The zoning for the site is Downtown Vista Specific Plan. This actual site is located within the West Gateway Planning District. The uses permitted within that district include commercial retail uses as well as restaurants. Currently, the Downtown Vista Specific Plan prohibits restaurants with drive-throughs. However, there are exceptions for the 3 existing drive-through facilities that currently were established at the adoption of the specific plan. In March 14th of this year, the City Council had a discussion regarding a proposed specific plan amendment to allow a new drive-through facility at 303 Vista Village Drive, the site before you tonight. At the conclusion of that discussion, the City Council came up with a consensus that staff should accept an application for a specific plan amendment to allow a drive-through at this location. The proposed project before you tonight requires a specific plan amendment, a special use permit, as well as a site development plan. The specific plan amendment would allow a drive-through restaurant at 303 Vista Village Drive, subject to approval of a special use permit. The project includes demolition of an existing 6,800 square foot restaurant building and construction of a new 3,935 square foot drive-through Raising Cane's restaurant. Raising Cane's restaurants specialize in chicken fingers. They also serve side dishes as well as soft drinks. The hours of operation are proposed at 10 a.m. to, it should be 1 a.m. Monday through Thursday. This slide was not updated. I apologize. As well as 10 a.m. to 2 a.m. Friday through Sunday. Within your staff report, it does indicate a 10 p.m. closing during weekdays. However, the applicant is requesting a 1 a.m. closing time Monday through Thursday. The submitted site plan proposes demolition of the existing restaurant building on site and construction of a 3,935 square foot restaurant building located along the easterly portion of the site. The site plan also proposes a drive-through lane that spans along the southerly, easterly, and northerly edge of the proposed building and has been designed to provide a total of 15 queuing spaces. The main parking lot in front of the restaurant has been reconfigured to accommodate a total of 44 parking spaces, and combined with the 18 parking spaces provided within the remote parking lot, the site would maintain a total of 62 spaces, which exceeds the code requirement of 50 spaces. In terms of landscaping, the site has been designed to provide a total of 11,100 square feet of landscape improvements. That equates to 18.7% of the entire site, which exceeds the 10% required by the specific plan requirements. The site has also been designed to accommodate a new trash enclosure located at the northwest corner of the site. The proposed floor plan has been configured to accommodate a total of 88 patrons, as well as providing area for service, kitchen, storage areas, as well as restroom facilities. The architecture of the proposed building would be considered contemporary, exhibiting a smooth stucco exterior and enhanced with stacked stone enhancements. The building has been designed with a horizontal parapet roof system and enhanced with tower elements that include curved standing seam roof elements. Other architectural enhancements for the building include metal canopies, metal awnings, stucco banding, exterior lighting, as well as storefront glass windows. The application before you tonight includes a specific plan amendment to amend the Downtown Vista specific plan to allow for a drive-through restaurant at 303 Vista Village Drive. subject to approval of a special use permit. In the event the building does get constructed, a restaurant, drive-through restaurant at this location, future modifications would require approval of a plot plan review. Staff has visited the site, reviewed the submitted plans, and feels that the proposed use is consistent with the mixed-use land use designation for the site. In terms of zoning, the project meets all applicable development standards within the specific plan. It's consistent with area uses within the Vista Village area. Successful on-site circulation will be provided, and staff feels there's appropriate queuing spaces provided on site. With that, staff is recommending the Planning Commission adopt the resolution before you tonight, recommending City Council approval of a specific plan amendment to amend the Downtown Vista specific plan to allow a drive-through restaurant at 303 Vista Village Drive, subject to approval of a special use permit, as well as a resolution recommending City Council approval of a special use permit inclusive of a site development plan, as well as a comprehensive sign program to demolish the existing 6,800 square foot restaurant building and construct a new 3,935 square foot drive-through restaurant located at 303 Vista Village Drive. That concludes staff's report. Representatives of Raising Cane's are here to provide the Planning Commission a brief presentation. At the conclusion of that presentation, the applicant as well as staff is here to provide any answers to questions you might have tonight. Thank you.
Commissioners, should we go on to hear from the applicant? Okay. I have 3-4 speaker slip for Raising Cane, so whoever is heading up the presentation, come join us. Name and address for the record, please. Kristen Roberts. And is the mic on also?
Joe needs the mic.
Try again? Try again. Anyone?
Very
Yeah?
good.
All right. Kristen Roberts, 6800 Bishop Road, Plano, Texas, 75024. Are you all ready for me to go through this? I just want to make sure. Okay, thank you. I'm actually a property development manager for Raising Cane's. Property development manager, fry cook, and cashier is my actual title. I will point it out later in the presentation, but every employee from top to bottom, including our founder, Todd Graves, are fry cooks and cashiers. Every year we go get certified. I'll tell you, the crew won't let me near the fryer very often. They let me drop bird once and then make me go back to toast. But we're all certified every year so that we can go help out any crew at any restaurant at any time and be able to help run the restaurant. You probably saw in the news a lot of flooding in Baton Rouge and Louisiana areas in Texas lately. And a lot of us were able to go help out in some of those restaurants so we could let the crew go home and take care of what they needed to take care of. So that's a good example, just kind of a basis of what Raising Cane's is all about. So let me go through this. I know you have a busy evening. To go over the story for Raising Cane's, it started in Baton Rouge in 1996. Todd Graves, our founder, was going to school at the time and got the worst grade on his business plan because at the time the professor was like, no one can just sell chicken fingers. That's just not going to work. So he got the lowest grade and he just no loan. He couldn't get a loan to open a restaurant. So he went out on his own and took a job as a Boilermaker, working 90 hours a week, saved every dime, heard he could make money sockeye salmon fishing in Alaska. So went and did that for a while, saved every dime, came back, finally got a loan, and bought an old restaurant in front of LSU and redid the whole thing himself. Our namesake, Cane, is the dog there on the right. Actually, Raising Cane's 2 just passed away not too long ago. She was 17 years old. Each Cane is a therapy dog, and we've heard Cane 3 is somewhere. We just haven't met her yet. So, but again, we opened in 1996 and recently celebrated our 20th year. It's just been a great ride. And as Michael mentioned, we sell chicken fingers. Our one love is chicken fingers. We sell chicken fingers, French fries, well, crinkle fries, coleslaw, and toast. And we have the best awesome sauce made in-house every day. secret recipe, not telling. But again, we do one thing, we do it the best, we have fun doing it. This is just in an existing restaurant. I have a couple up here from Orange County. This actually will be the first one south of Orange County, and so we're very excited for that. We're starting our growth, and Vista, if all goes well, will be the first for that. So we're very excited. There's another restaurant. And the 5 C's that we focus on, our customers, our crew, well, there may be a lot of future crew in this audience right here, our culture, community, and of course, chicken fingers. And one of the main focuses for Todd, our founder, is the community that we're within. We become a part of every community we're in. And the focus is for each restaurant, not just the company as a whole, but for each restaurant within each community, or education, feeding the hungry, of course, pet welfare, active lifestyles, business development and entrepreneurship, and my favorite, everything else. So whatever we can't, doesn't fit in one of those categories, we still say yes. Just an example of some areas of focus that we've already been able to be a part of in California. And some numbers for you. I got these from our marketing coordinator here in California, and this is for every restaurant that we have in every community, but she gave these to me specifically for what we've done so far. 0.5% of our sales go directly back into the local community, so that would be specifically Vista. 2016, California restaurants gave over $75,000 back to the communities, and that doesn't even include donations, if you will. We need to feed this festival. We need volunteer food. What can you do to help? That sort of thing. And then we always find a way to say yes. And that's just a quick overview of Raising Cane's. I thought, hopefully, if anything, it would help you understand a little bit about who and what we are and what we bring to the community. Be happy to answer any questions. And our team is here as well, from architect to civil to landscape architect, and we look forward to answering any questions. Thank you for your consideration.
Okay, hang on just a second. Any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Kramer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Roberts, why is a drive-through so important to Raising Cane's?
Drive-through is pretty critical to our operations. We do a great number of our service through the drive-through. I want to say probably about 70% of our customers are drive-through based. It's always been our model from the very beginning. It works for us. It works in this location, any location that we choose. And it's just part of our model and something that is critical to our operations.
At least once a month, pardon me, at least once a month I go to LA, and always on my way back, I stop off at El Toro Road to Via Carlota. Mm-hmm. Have never been able to go in because I can't figure out how to get off the freeway going south and make it back.
Get back in, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a screwball thing, but that's El Toro. But that restaurant is always crowded, and I'm talking 2 o'clock in the afternoon or 7:30 at night.
Yes, ma'am.
So I appreciate that. My concern lies with the need for the drive-through. But right now I have no other questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Jackal.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Why do you want the later closing on weeknights?
The 1 a.m. is our standard closing hours. I believe that was in our application. I'm not sure. I don't want to misspeak. It was initially in the application, and I think it was just an error on our part getting that into the packet here. So that is the standard closing hours, and some, I want to say Downey, I believe, some sites we actually stay open until 3 a.m. and open at 9 a.m. That's how busy they are. So we are not requesting that. However, the 1 a.m. closure during the week is our standard operating hour.
I had one other question. The design of the building, is that like your corporate design?
That is our standard prototype. We've enhanced it a bit for this particular corner. And the signage you see and the mural that you see are all part of our standard marketing.
I understand that.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Commissioner Bill.
Thank you. This is obviously corporate owned as opposed to a franchise, right?
This is company owned, yes, sir.
Company owned. Is there any forecast or concern about changes in the future? And I assume the answer is no to this, but I have to ask because if you're going to come in and renovate the building, I think one concern might be X amount of years down the road, the company changes its mind, moves out, and something different or not as desirable goes in. I think your company's hot right now. Obviously, there's a lot of buzz, and it sounds amazing. I just want to know if the company has any long-term prospects, thoughts. Obviously, you're moving to San Diego, so that's a positive thing.
Absolutely, absolutely. I will say that I don't have an exact number, but I've heard in the 3 digits is the intent for growing in California. For the three digit numbers, I don't have a number I can offer. We're actually building new. We're scraping it to the ground, and we'll build a brand new building. And we're actually investing in this site for a minimum of 30 years.
Okay.
So without going into negotiations of the
That's
site, I can
appreciated, yeah.
absolutely commit to the 30 years.
Okay. And then beyond that, with the drive-through question, is this similar to an In-N-Out Burger where the doors are also open until 1 or 1:30, or does the restaurant itself close at some point and the drive-through stays open?
The restaurant is open completely till 1.
And any issues that you've come across in Southern California with noise or loitering or anything else that you've had to deal with? I'm sure there always is, but in any ways the company has addressed that at all? I don't feel like In-N-Out has that problem. It's just a concern if you're going to stay open that late in a place that doesn't now have a drive-through.
Correct.
I can see some people having that concern. That's all.
Sure. Great question. For the first couple of months, sometimes even later than that, we hire either local police officers or we hire police officers to not only maintain and keep the traffic flow happening and calm, but also for that exact reason. We're the new kid on the block, bright shiny, what's going on over here, and we want to make sure that we're 100% focused on the community, and part of doing that is maintaining that comfort level for the community.
Perfect.
That late at night.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Commissioner Kramer again.
Again, I'm sorry, Ms. Roberts, what was the percentage of the business is done through the drive-through?
65 to 70% at times.
Okay, thank you.
We're growing our patios, so that might go down a little bit. Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Garrison.
Question for staff relating to, quote, remote parking. This remote parking that is up beyond that big, right where the place is, all of those businesses don't use the same remote parking spots for their remote parking, right?
It's considered a remote parking lot. However, there's mutual access and mutual parking amongst the properties there within the Vista Village area. So in reality, it is a part of this site. However, it's kind of a part of the field of parking for the businesses within this area.
But we're not using the same remote parking for every restaurant to say we have additional parking.
No, this is actually on this site. So the property actually encompasses that area.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Looney.
Yeah, just some insight and information for the commissioners. The business model that is being proposed is pretty much identical to In-N-Out and also to Chick-fil-A. A friend of mine.
I had to. We are the chicken fingers of In-N-Out.
Had to get some.
I know not of who you speak. I'm sorry.
This other company.
Right.
Okay.
Sorry, had to.
A friend of mine opened a store in Bellevue, Washington, and it's been open for a year, and the City of Bellevue Police Department is still managing traffic that comes up off the main road because of the drive-through. And because of the demand, they're building a second one. So hopefully you've got that kind of traffic issue, and hopefully we don't, but the business model is almost identical.
Yeah, they say we're the chicken fingers of In-N-Out. They sell just a few things, as do we. I would like to point out briefly, if I could, we do hire the police officers. It's not an expectation that the city would provide that extra service. We make sure and cover that.
Okay. All right. I have two questions. One deals with the honey brown color, and my initial impression was that you have a brown box, and I was wondering if there are some other contrasting colors that you use in your other restaurants.
It actually depends. I need to. Is this center match on this one? Okay. Well, I wanted to make sure. Is this one center match? I couldn't remember. Are we matching the center, or are we just proposing to?
This is your
Okay.
image.
This is our standard. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mo Makhlad. I'm from PM Design Group. My address is 38 Executive Park, Irvine. And in regard to the color, the only reason why we use the color that actually it will fit the site that we're putting the restaurant in. So whenever we design any restaurant, we always look at the surrounding colors, the surrounding building, and even we always say this is a prototype building, but it doesn't mean we actually take the exact building and we put it in every site. We try to match the color, we try to match the surrounding building, we try to match if there is any theme on the area. And that's the reason why we pick this color.
So in your other restaurants, there may be a range of colors that you've used?
We have, yes, we use the same concept when it comes to the main color. Mm-hmm. But for example, if we go to different site where this particular site has a special color that they want to use this color to match, so we add different color to what we have.
Okay. If you look at the elevations that are on the board and on the screen, it's pretty much all the same. You got brown and tan, and I was curious if there was another color that you could add for accents to that.
But could you give me an idea of where and
I was thinking about the top band of stucco, that you've got an expansion joint that goes around the top. Mm-hmm. Either a lighter or darker there?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Sure. Just give it a little bit of variation. Exactly. Sure. Absolutely. Okay. Would you be amicable to us using the color palette that we've got noted here? Generally in that same color area.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I just thought it was all kind of monotone and needed some variety.
We can do that.
Okay.
We like variety.
All right. Next question is kind of for Mr. Riesler and Mr. Stone. This special use permit is being approved, if it gets, assuming the council approves it, is specifically tied to 303 Main Street?
Actually, it's 303 Vista Village Drive.
Okay, so it's site-specific.
Yeah, and the specific plan amendment is specifically for that address.
Right.
So in reality, in the specific plan area, there will only be 4 drive-through restaurants. The 3 existing, the Sonic, McDonald's, and Burger King, and the 4th would be the Raising Cane's at 303 Vista Village Drive.
Okay, very good. It was good to hear from them that they have a 30-year plan for the site. But I'm sure Famous Dave's had a similar plan for their site. What happens if they go away? I think Commissioner Bell asked the question earlier. What happens to the drive-through if they go away?
Well, it would be a use permitted with the special use permit. However, if there were modifications made to the restaurant in order to accommodate a new operation, then as I indicated in my presentation, it would go through a plot plan review process. However, if it was a substantial change that we didn't feel comfortable with approving at the administrative level, we would take it before the Planning Commission.
It used to be that if a use permit was issued and the use was abandoned for a certain amount of time, and I want to say 6 months, but I can't remember, that they had to start all over if they came in after that. Is Is that still the case?
And as of right now, our zoning ordinance indicates that a special use permit, yes, if the use is removed from the property more than 6 months, then they'd be required to go back and establish that SUP again.
If I could just expand upon this. So the special use permit is something that's known to run with the land.
Yes.
That means that if the initial user no longer is occupying the property, a subsequent user can take over, even though it might be a different entity, because the use itself runs with the land. As Mr. Ressler said, if there's a substantial change, it will come back. But if it's not a substantial change, it simply runs with the land. There can be a period of 6 months of inactivity, in which case there's a potential for the SUP to lapse. But the fact that if you have, for instance, real estate agents marketing the property, that might not be considered a lapse because it's still being actively marketed, for instance. So it's a very complicated process. And the simple fact that there's a 6-month vacancy would not in and of itself necessarily result in the termination of the SUP.
I had a thought that, and I think Commissioner Bill had the same concern, that if they go away, that other restaurants would come in to the site. And I was thinking if we could take and limit that, reduce that 6-month period to maybe 3 months or 30 days, and have them come back with a new use permit.
That since that's in the code, I would recommend that we keep the 6 months.
Okay.
But there might be an opportunity, if the commission thought it were advisable, to include a condition that the use has to have a business model that expects to have at least 25% of its customer share using the restaurant. Because many fast food establishments, I don't think, hit that threshold. And so you might thereby have some assurance that this won't be a pure drive-through restaurant.
Okay. I like that idea, Mr. Stone.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right. We have a couple more questions. Commissioner Kramer.
Sorry, I feel like I'm over-miking tonight. Mr. Ressler, I have a question on how the cars get in and get out. So if I understand correctly, and I'm looking at L1.1, well, you have it there, you're showing it on the screen. So when the cars go to exit, so I see the car that looks like it's approaching the pickup window, so he would exit off to the right and then make a hard right, and that would then get him to the light at Chili's and...
Yeah, actually, yeah. You'd make her, I think it's 3 rights to get back on...
Vista Village and Vista Way.
That's correct, and,
okay.
and go back to the main intersection of Vista Village.
So
there also is a out lane, an optional out lane, so that if somebody decided to get out of the drive-through, they could easily exit the drive-through lane and remove themselves from the operations too, just to keep that in mind as well.
Where's that?
It's at the order window or the order.
Number 1?
Yeah, you know what? So there's actually a lane right here that in the event somebody got into the drive-thru just chose not to purchase items, that they have the easy ability to leave and get back out of the facility. So, but ultimately you're correct.
Oh, okay. So, but they would still have to wait all of these. Okay. And when they go to get into line to join the drive-through, they're going in between the existing building, the Famous Dave's and Rosati's. That's the way they get into queue?
Well, they actually, yeah, they come in off the common driveway here. They would come within this interior drive aisle and then get into the queuing lane to go around the building and to the pickup window. I guess keep in mind, a lot of the restaurants that we work on typically have, 4 to 6 queuing spaces before the pickup window. They're showing a total of 15 based on their operations. They feel that this is what they need to accommodate the demand of their business operations. So keep that in mind in terms of the number of queuing spaces they're providing.
Okay, and then I also saw in the package that there's plenty of landscape to keep the lights from the cars from being in the oncoming traffic. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. It's a substantial amount of landscaping. I think majority of the trees that are along the edge of the existing site will be retained. The landscape plan indicates that, as well as a vibrant a palette of trees and ground cover and shrubs in order to accent the site and provide appropriate buffering.
Okay, thank you. I have no other questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Looney.
A couple of questions. Can the special use permit be business specific? Or does it go does it go with the deed of the property?
It does run with the land. It's more akin to running with the deed. There's definitely law in place that prohibits a special use permit from being specific to a business. And so I suggest that if you're concerned about the quality of the business, I know it's hard to identify features or characteristics that distinguish between a business that might be more suitable and one that might be less suitable. But to the extent that you're able to identify those features and they're sufficiently objective, let's say, or those conditions can be added, thereby assuring if the commission is getting the type of business that would be expected. So the threshold or the requirement for having a certain number or percentage of actually sit-down patrons was one possibility of trying to distinguish between a higher quality business and a lesser one that might not be as suitable for that location.
Okay, thank you. Rick, on the signs that are on the drawings, on sheet 4.1, there's the southwest elevation and northwest elevation. On the southwest elevation, there is one sign that scales 7 feet by 12 feet. And then there's another sign on the northwest elevation that measures 4 feet by 16 feet. And that's that arrow showing the drive up. Now, a 16-foot long sign is compatible to the sign ordinance that the city has?
What's before you tonight is a comprehensive sign program to allow deviation from our typical code requirements. So based on the operations, their corporate image, and what works for them, we feel that because of the design of the building, that the signage works well with it, and that's why we're supporting the application. But yes, they are exceeding the square footage and number of signs based on the sign ordinance of the City of Vista. That's correct.
Okay. Could you educate me on kind of the background of why the city required a special use permit for drive-throughs in this particular area?
For this specific area? I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
So why is there a special use permit needed to have a drive-through?
I'm going to answer that if it's okay. We require special use permits for a range of different uses that could impact surrounding properties. Those include a number of different things: schools, construction yards, et cetera. drive-throughs are in that category, as in they could create nuisance characteristics that could impact surrounding properties, and so the use permit provides the opportunity for the planning commission or the council to review the use and impose any kind of conditions that they need to manage those potential impacts. That's what the use permit is for.
Okay. And then one last comment regarding the building color. I think if we could create a little bit more interest, that would help the building. Right now it is too monotone, as you had brought up, Rick. Just to get a little bit more articulation and variety in the color schemes. That's all.
Was
Thank
the
you.
expectation of the Planning Commission being an additional color enhancement or architectural features or just color?
Color.
Okay.
Okay, we still have a public hearing to run. Christopher Savesik, did I pronounce that right? Kresnik.
Christopher Krestik, 1597 Live Oak Road, number 68, Vista, California. So first of all, I'm sorry that I'm in this attire. I'm an RBV student, Rancho Buena Vista High School. I play football, and we just came out of practice, and I heard there was a planning commission meeting tonight, and I really wanted to hear about the topic of Raising Cane's. So I've lived in Vista my whole life, and I've seen many restaurants come and go, and many establishments come and go. And I'm going to say, like, with Famous Dave's area in particular, I used to, like, frequently visit that establishment with my family, and I just saw a sharp decline with the quality of food and the staff. So I don't think Famous Dave's was when we talk about them leaving, it's not, I believe it wasn't where they chose, they didn't want to leave, but people stopped going because of that lack of quality. And I'm totally in favor with this proposed special plan permit because, I mean, many students and many football players at RBV, we love Raising Cane's. We literally drive all the way up to Laguna Hills on a weekend and even some weekdays to get Raising Cane's. And I don't think Raising Cane's is going to have that problem where if they're going to leave or not, because like she mentioned the community and the culture, and I've seen that at work. I've seen that in their restaurants, and that's true commitment to the staff and the managers and everyone working in that restaurant, and that's what makes good restaurants. So I really believe that it's become a staple here in Vista, and not only unify our community, but bring people from all around San Diego to visit this great establishment. Thank you.
Thank you. And Cliff Kaiser.
Good evening, Commissioners. Just a couple of comments. When this item came for early design review, I believe, a few months ago, I spoke in favor of it with a couple of notes. One of them is that we're tearing down Famous Dave's building, which design and architecture is probably the nicest building in that area. And I cautioned at that time that we have to replace it with something that is also distinctive and nice and attractive. And what I see here today is not anywhere close to fulfilling that vision of having something there right off the freeway, entryway to Vista, that says, hey, welcome to Vista. This is what we have here. Now, Chili's just on the freeway side, not the most beautiful place, but not bad. Rosati's, nothing unique there. So we just don't need another brown box sitting there right off the freeway. I know there's been a lot of discussion about the special use permit and the specific plan amendment and whether you can tie that to a business or not. You really need to dive into that. We don't want just another drive-through here. We're making an exception. The specific plan for downtown only has 2 drive-through restaurants. The hot dog joint and McDonald's, right? And it's there specifically saying we don't want drive-throughs at all in downtown, but we'll make 2 exceptions. Here we are about to make a 3rd exception, and it ought to be treated very, very cautiously. With regards to the design and the architecture of the building, I would extend those comments to the signs that are in there as well. You know, a big yellow sign saying go here, go there, probably does not fit as well. So thank you for your time. I like the idea. This is, if we're going to put a drive-through in, this is the right spot for it, right off the freeway. Get people coming off the freeway instead of driving past Vista. So I welcome them here as well.
Thank you, Mr. Kaiser. That is the end of the requests to speak cards that I have. Anyone else wanting to address the commission on the drive-through and Raising Cane? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and open it up to discussion amongst the commissioners. Commissioner Kramer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have one more question of staff. Will the Raising Cane sign be on the big monument sign that's standing at Lowe's?
As of right now, based on their branding book, the only non-building mounted sign or wall mounted sign would be the monument located at the northeast corner of Vista Village and West Vista Way.
Could the applicant, if they desired at some point, change that so their name could be on that monument sign? I mean, if the kids know about Raising Cane in Orange County, there's got to be a whole lot of other people.
Yeah, I don't know what the lease agreement is for that sign. I don't know the background on that. You might want to give
Mr.
that
Conley?
back to the applicant or...
The city maintains a lease for the use of that sign. They have current tenants that are signed into all of the spots, so if one vacated, that's a possibility in the future, but as of right now, they're all taken.
Okay. Then the rest of my comments, I arrived here tonight. My only concern is the drive-through. And the drive-through from the standpoint of I was on this commission when we were doing all of the design work for the village. And it was at that time the only drive-through that we are going to allow is Burger King because they remained. They were part of the Burger King and the Wave were there. Everything else, you know, was torn down and started from scratch. So when this came, you know, it immediately got the hair up on the back of my neck. And then when Mr. Conley told us probably about 3 months ago that they were coming and where the closest one was, I mean, I'm not kidding. Every single month when I go to LA, I stop, I do a couple laps around, you know, go and see what's going on there. And they are always crowded. And I absolutely agree with Mr. Chancellor and with the chairman that we do need to tie that drive-through specifically to that location, to that kind of business, so that it doesn't turn into if this goes through, that it does not turn in, that they don't leave and it gets replaced by something else that's less desirable because they can get a front row drive-through. So listening to our Rancho Buena Vista student and the comments that he made, as well as my fellow commissioners and Mr. Chancellor, I will be in favor of supporting Raising Cane. So thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioners? Commissioner Carroll.
Thank you. I'm in favor of the project. I have absolutely no problem with this being a drive-through. They have plenty of stacking room, and I think the way it's situated in the center, the additional traffic that there would be from a drive-through is really, I think, going to be contained within these interior streets. And they're going to come out to this West Vista Way and Old Broadway. There's a four-way stop sign. They're going to turn right. There's a street light, and I think it's going to be all fine there. And I'm in favor of it.
Commissioner Jackal.
Thank you. I echo the comments that Mr. Rossler and Mr. Looney made, and also Mr. Kaiser, about the architectural design. I wish that Raising Cane's would give as much attention and gift to the community as has been discussed to give us a really nice, distinguished architectural design. I don't think the current design is going to add much to our community. And I think if they care that much, they could do better. The second thing I wanted to say is that I'm not even talking about drive-through or not, but I am getting very concerned that we keep making amendments to specific plans and general plans. And I'm just very concerned about that. Thank you.
I personally think that the famous Dave's building is a pretty good architectural statement for the entry to the city. It has a lot of reminiscence to the old red barn that used to be up on North Santa Fe. I also think that the addition of this drive-through is a major concession in the plan. But I think if we add two conditions, that the business model contain at least 25% for customer use as a restaurant, a sit-down restaurant. And at a minimum, we add an additional color within the color palette for that top band of stucco that it would be, I would find it acceptable. So that's my thoughts on the project right now. Commissioner Carroll?
Is that a motion?
I'm the chairman. I'm not supposed to make motions.
I'll make a motion then to approve the specific plan amendment and the special use permit as written, with the additions of the two items just mentioned, being the color enhancement of additional color to the design, to the color palette, and of the 25% dine-in business plan.
Okay, got a motion to approve with two additional conditions. Commissioner Kramer.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Carroll, does that amendment that you're asking for take into consideration what Mr. Stone said about, yes, it does?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
With that said, I would second the motion.
Commissioner Carroll?
I didn't see it in here, but is that hours of operation, is that part of the specific conditions or not?
Actually, because of the lack of sensitive uses around that area and it being in an established commercial area, we didn't include limitations on the hours of operation.
Okay, so we don't need to
within the
address
conditions.
that. Okay.
Okay. Commissioner Garrison.
I'd like to hear from the petitioner about the 25% dine-in model and what that would do to their proposal and their business plan.
Ms. Roberts?
Thank you. That currently fits our model, and so we would be amicable to that, absolutely. And then we'll work with Michael on getting an enhanced elevation scheme that I feel will capture everything that you visited about this evening.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, let's call for the question and cast your vote, please. Let the record show that the item passed with 6 affirmative votes and Commissioner Jackal voting no. All right, Commissioners, do we want to tackle the RVB signatures, and then we'll come back for the easement? Okay, so we're going to take probably a 10, 15-minute break. Students, come, give us your forms, we'll sign.
Oh, yeah, I get it. Yeah, I don't think it's really much of a requirement, really. But yeah, like it's actually, sometimes they'll ask if like you have names, and then that's when they get to roll up.
Chris, that was great.
Yeah, so.
Okay.
I go to Placer County, but I live here in Vista. It's in Escondido, like right off the Valley Park. North of that. Yeah. I really like the school there. Yeah. I do live on like Lupine Hills, like right next to our or Miramar Drive. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right. It's actually like, so you're at RVB, there's an intersection. You go up, it's right behind the church. It's like right in that area. It's cool.
What did I do?
My daughter
That was weird.
Yeah, it was.
Really confused.
Oh, yeah.
Enough time to go to sleep. I know, but I can't.
Yeah, so like, I think that's like really
I have so much homework. Yeah, I got you. I have to go home soon.
I mean, unless he had something going on, then he could like tell him like, yeah. How long do you think it's in? It really depends. It depends on how many items are on the agenda and how long it takes. Yeah. So I think this part shouldn't take that long down. I just thought it was like. Yeah. They could, right. They could be as short as 20 hours, or they could be as long as 3 hours. That's insane. Okay. That's a long. That's like 10 hours.
Yeah.
Chairs push you forward.
Mr. Connolly, are we good to go? Oh, Stephanie's gone. We'll wait for Stephanie to come back.
Okay.
Let's see. Hmm? I think about 120. Yeah, yeah, it's a great system. And then those containers become part of the super kitchen when they get on site. So right.
And that was always a tough because power is pushing.
And they buy all their food locally. So, and Becky tells me that they have 50 recipes per site, so it's not the same meal every day. So I was impressed with that. So.
Yeah, good friend of mine was working with them to try to get one down in Brazil.
Mm-hmm. Well, they've got requests from all over. It's just putting the money together to go do it. We back? Okay. Very good. Mr. Connolly, the public hearing item number 2, the conformity request for the abandonment of an open space easement at 1765 Foothill Drive.
Thank you, Chairman and Commissioners. This is a request to abandon a portion of an open space easement at 1765 Foothill. The parcel is shown here in the slide. It's approximately a half-acre site that's located just west of Beverly on the south side of Foothill Drive. A major tributary of Buena Vista Creek travels through that general area, as you can see with the heavy vegetation from the aerial photo. This is an undeveloped lot. A little history on the parcel. The original parcel was created, a larger parcel, in 1975 with a parcel map which created 4 parcels at the southwest corner of Foothill and Beverly. In 1977, one of those 4 parcels was further subdivided into the parcels that are existing today, and an open space easement was recorded over those 4 parcels, which established the half-acre subject property at 1765 Foothill Drive, as well as an open space easement that burdened that property in the other 3. In 2006, the city abandoned the original open space easement in favor of a new easement accommodating some creek setbacks on the property. And now in 2017, there's a request from the property owner to relocate the open space easement, which involves abandoning an existing easement and adopting a new one based on a biological survey of the property. Sorry, my clicker here isn't working. Joni, if you could maybe advance the slide for me. Thank you. So this shows the original parcel in red, noted as parcel A on the map. This is parcel map 6645, the 1977 map. And it shows the original open space easement, which includes the 2 small areas that are outlined with a green hash. So when the property was originally established, and you can note the open space easement that travels along the adjacent parcels B, C, and D, covering the creek area, as well as around a buildable parcel or a buildable lot area on parcel A. This was originally designed to accommodate the creek flowing through the property, as well as a minor drainage on the southerly portion of the property, which is why it's split into two areas. But the larger footprint was intended to accommodate a home on the property. In 2006, the easement was modified to address the drainage conveyance on the south side of the property, but the realignment did not properly map the tributary to Buena Vista Creek. It instead identified the main tributary on the southerly portion of the site, which you can see there's a large open space area now on the southerly and westerly portion of the lot, and the northeastern portion of the property was opened up for development. However, in looking at the site, that's where the major portion of the creek runs through, and so the owner has approached us today with a request to realign that buildable footprint to more resemble what was originally adopted on the 1977 map, which would involve abandoning the 2006 open space easement and adopting a new easement to show this configuration. The current request also includes the area on the southerly portion of the property, which originally was mapped as usable space. So I'm just going to give you kind of a brief rundown here and graphically of how it's transpired. The red is the property lines. The blue is on the top, the major drainage tributary. And on the west side or the left side of the picture here is a minor tributary, but they both drain into and serve Buena Vista Creek. So this is the original easement in yellow, which shows the two buildable areas. Then in 2006, this is the revised easement showing the buildable area in the northeast corner. Note the location of the creek. And this is the easement today that's being requested to show a location for a home. This is also based on a biologist survey of the property to determine where the creek improvements the existing creek location is, and the appropriate setbacks per our code for a structure on the property. And then this kind of gives you an overview of all three, overlaying to kind of show you how things have been modified since the original easement in 1977. And that's the final configuration. So in order for us to abandon the existing open space easement in favor of a new easement, the Planning Commission has to make a finding of conformity with the general plan. Your recommendation is then forwarded to the to the City Council for their consideration, and they have to hold a public hearing as well. With respect to the general plan compliance, our resource conservation and sustainability element in our general plan is the guidance that we follow for preservation of natural resources. It also includes designation of open space or biological protection overlay for those areas in our general plan that we want to protect in future from development. This property is not located in either an open space designation or within the biological preserve overlay in our general plan. The policies protecting biological habitat and riparian habitat generally rely on a recommendation of a qualified biologist to determine what those appropriate setbacks should be. The proposed easement would maintain a development setback in accordance with the biologist's recommendations and would also meet our development code, which requires either 50 feet from the center line of the creek or 20 feet from the top of the bank. And so based on staff's analysis, the proposed location of the building footprint would be greater than 20 feet from the top of the bank of the existing creek. It's also important to note that the site is located in the low density designation of our general plan, which is shown here. So this shows the general plan land use designation. You can see there's no open space or other designation other than the low density, which allows one single family unit per half acre. And this proposal would also not conflict with the mapping of the site or any of the land use policies in the land use element. So based on the analysis of the general plan conformity, staff's recommending that the Planning Commission make a finding of conformity with the Vista General Plan for abandonment of a portion of this easement at 1765 Foothill Drive, and that completes my staff presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of staff? Okay, we have two speaker slips from the public. David Lowen.
Good evening, Commissioners. Dave Lowen, 145 North Melrose. here in Vista. I am the engineer of work, and I am the surveyor that prepared the documents that the city used to create their presentation. We're in agreement with the city's analysis, and I'm available for any questions that you may have. One thing I might point out, and I'm sure this is a question that has probably crossed your minds, and that is, how are we going to access the property if we have to cross the swale that runs along Foothill? That will essentially be a railroad flat car bridge that'll meet the fire code requirements. We want to avoid any 404 or 401 permits and not have to deal with state or the U.S. Fish and Wildlife agencies. So that's it.
Okay. Any questions of the applicant? Okay. Thank you. I also have a speaker slip from Tony Puppin. Is that right?
First, I'm not a public speaker, so I'm a little nervous, but Tony Pupping, 1740 Foothill Drive. And I am their neighbors. I just have a few concerns. Made a couple notes. And I feel that one of the goals of Vista, through people that I know and living in Vista, is to preserve as much natural property or land that we have or creeks that we have and not make it just a concrete Orange County-ish type community. I realize, listening to the engineer there, that it's going to be a bridge, not a concrete bridge, and it hopefully will fit where it's supposed to be. But my concern is that is a natural creek, not just a swale. And it's right across the street from my house, so I have a major concern because I want to make sure this isn't going to set a precedent that there's going to be multiple houses being built in that natural area. Granted, there's an easement, they'll be back from the easement, but houses behind the easement stacked up, it takes away from the whole reason for that natural green belt. I see hawks in there, owls, different wildlife going back and forth through there. I'm concerned that this will slow that down or change the actual use of that green belt. Also, I don't know what the future plan for Foothill Drive is. I've heard talks about widening it and making it more of a thoroughfare for around town. I don't think that's the goal of the rural parts of Vista. It's a nice road to drive through because there's a lot of nice green belt and creeks, and I think that needs to be considered something that needs to be preserved. Their suggestion that the driveway will cut across the creek, I just want to make sure that it's not something that would hinder the natural look of it and also the use of it by the wildlife that is in that creek. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Commissioners? Commissioner Looney.
A couple questions for staff. Is any of these waterways put the buildable area within any floodplain? Is there a floodplain overlay?
There's no map floodplain in this area.
And then on the proposed buildable area on that parcel, they don't have additional setbacks from that line, do they? Because the setbacks typically come from the property line.
That's correct, although we are intending to require a condition that requires 20 feet from the top of the bank, which is in the development code for any structural improvements on the property.
Okay. Is fire going to require the owner to do some cleanup along those waterways? I mean, it's
so
literally.
The fire department will review any building plans for the site. They'll make sure that they have adequate access, et cetera. As far as the fire department's review of vegetation, they typically require that you remove dead vegetation or any kind of fire hazard. Most of the vegetation in this area is associated with the creek and the habitat tied there too. And so there would be permit requirements to remove any of the native creek vegetation, and I don't think that's the intent of the property owner. We would make sure through the permit process that that's frankly avoided or that they get appropriate permits.
Does that all come under the biological review?
Yes, as far as if there's any impacts to the creek itself or the habitat within the creek, it requires permits from the resource agencies that Mr. Lowen identified, and they oversee that whole process. I believe the intent of this owner is to stay within the open space easement area and avoid impacts to the wetlands, thus avoiding permit requirements from those resource agencies.
Are there permits required to remove trees? Because it looks like they were removing some ukes from the proposed building pad area.
If there were trees to be removed from the building pad area, that would have to be identified on the grading plan. We would be checking for conformance with the open space easement here to verify that, but they could frankly remove some trees within the buildable pad area on the property.
Okay, thanks, Jim.
Commissioner Jackal?
Thank you. That was indeed my question, was how do we get across the creek with the least damage? And I like the idea of the bridge that you've described, so thank you.
Commissioner Garrison?
Just a clarification, this is definitely within the city of Vista limits, right? Not
Yes.
county or unincorporated.
Yes, it's well within our limits.
I thought so, but I keep thinking how unusual our borders are. I thought I'd better ask. Thank you.
And Mr. Connolly, my questions were similar to Commissioner Looney's concerning maintenance. There's a whole couple rows of Mexican fan palms that haven't been maintained for a long time, and I've been told by family members that are in firefighting that those go up like a Roman candle if they catch fire.
So there's no permit to remove any of those. Those are considered invasive species as long as they're cut at the base and not the stump's not removed. Then it's permitted activity.
Okay, very good. And just a note from staff, further down across from 1642 Foothill, somebody has dumped a dishwasher into the creek bed. And I was disappointed to see that. So
I'll let code know. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. No further questions from staff, or discussion? Commissioner Kramer?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Seeing no other questions, I would propose to adopt Resolution 2017 next, making a finding of conformity with the City of Vista General Plan for the abandonment of a portion of the open space easement at 1765 Foothill Drive.
Commissioner Carroll.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm in favor of the project. I just had something caught my eye, and it's maybe a question for Mr. Lowen to double check, and that's the legal description. The preamble and the legal description talks about an easement for open space purposes, and then it describes the exception. So I think in that preamble, it needs to, something's amiss there, I think, where it needs to describe the property and then accept out this legal description. And then additionally, this southern portion is not addressed in the legal description.
We'll fix that from one engineer to another.
Check. I'll second the motion then.
Okay, very good. Commissioner Jackal? Okay. One comment. Mr. Puffin, if you look at the map that's up on the screen, the white area with the strip going out to Foothill, that's going to be the developable pad area of this home. Everything else that's in green is going to be open space, and they can't build on it. So I think, based on your testimony, your concerns, I think this is the best solution for the site. So just wanted you to understand that. So it's been moved and seconded. Should we call for the question? Sure. You got to come to the microphone. I'm sorry.
The creek itself is not blocked.
No.
And that the access for wildlife is not.
Yes.
Just to
hindered.
clarify, yeah, that the development will have to get a grading plan and they'll have to show that they cannot block flow or impede flow on the creek in any way as part of their development plan.
The reason I have a concern is that next to them, around the corner on Beverly, another property, they have gunnighted the whole natural area, and it's starting to cave in from the side of the street. I know it's affecting that creek. I'm sure it's affecting that property. So if that happened, I'm sure that was not a permitted activity.
No, we actually have an open code enforcement case on that property.
I just want to make sure that this whole thing is not destroyed.
Right.
So,
Understood.
thank you.
Thank you for
Thank you very much.
your
Thank
concern.
you.
Okay, let's call for the question and vote, please. And let the minutes reflect that the motion passes unanimously. All right, so the next item on our agenda is staff discussion, council actions, and reports.
I don't have a lot to report tonight other than we will have a meeting on October 3rd, which is the next scheduled Tuesday. We have a zoning code amendment, which will involve a number of small amendments, and we have an early design review project in the Vista Village area. Those are the only two items that we currently have, I believe. Also wanted to let the commission know that the 100 Main Street project has submitted plans, and they have met with us. They are moving forward, so we're glad to hear that. They hope to start construction before the end of the year. There's a couple of projects under construction and some starting soon, including the Creekside project next to Fraser. The Breeze Hill project is supposed to start their demolition next month in October. And we're processing some construction permits for some other smaller minor residential projects, but it's fairly busy in the planning department right now. That's it. I'm sorry. Delpy Corner was sold to Cal Atlantic, which is a national builder. They are submitting grading plans, I think, in October, so they are moving forward with construction on that project too.
Saw the car wash on East Vista Way in Williamson had a construction fence and an excavator.
So we've been working for months diligently to try to get them to pull a grading permit and demo that building. We're right on the cusp, so we're hoping in the next 2 weeks we see it happen. But yeah, that project will move forward as well.
Okay, very good.
Any news on when Pigs Fly will open?
They're doing their TIs. I haven't talked to the owner. I know they had to do quite a bit internally. I expect it's going to be either October or November.
Okay. And Doghouse, paper had it as September, but it doesn't look like anything's going.
They have approved building permits, but they have not started construction. That's a question for the owner that we sort of have into, and we haven't heard back yet.
And anything on the building right in the circle?
No, we've had numerous tenants look at that building, but we have not been able to get the owner to agree to one yet. So we're still working diligently on that one too, really trying to get a restaurant type use there.
Good. Everything within the city from my purview is beautiful.
Thank you.
It's looking really good.
Oh, and that's correct. Yeah, the skate park opened on Saturday too, so it's officially now opened. And we're happy to see that. Thank you.
Okay, anything else, commissioners? If not, we'll stand adjourned until October 3rd.